don't know whether people in the room saw the homework survey that we did. Maybe have a raise of hands who completed it. Okay, so there's quite an awareness of it. So a couple of weeks ago, we put a survey out for parents, for children, and for teachers on homework and people's views and experiences of homework. And I suppose one of the reasons we did this was that anecdotally over the years, parents have often told us that homework creates a very, very stressful environment within the home. And I suppose one of the National Parents Council's key messages to parents, and what we say every year at conference, but also throughout our work that we do in schools, is that actually it's a really important environment for parents to make positive. It's actually crucial. The research tells us that what parents do in the home with children's learning is more critical at primary level than actually what goes on in the schools. So whilst we're telling parents on a regular basis, you've really got to foster this home learning environment, you've got to make it creative and positive, we're also hearing back from parents, well, actually that's very difficult, because the first thing that they bring home from school in a day actually creates an anxiety, can create stress and pressure, and bring a huge amount of negativity to it. So I suppose what we wanted to do with the survey was really, rather than have that anecdotally, get a better sense of what was happening for people in homes, also what was happening for teachers and what their views on the homework was. So we had quite an extensive survey. We can't provide all of the results to you today because there's a huge amount of data, and it will take us some time to compile that. But we did just want to give you a flavour. Now, it only closed last Sunday, so this is just like a snapshot flavour of some of the results. But we just thought it would be interesting at the conference to give you some sense back of what the surveys included. So just first of all to say who took part in the survey. So we had over 2,000 children. Sorry for statistics here now and numbers. It might blow your mind with a few tables coming up as well. So over 2,000 children, over 5,000 parents and over 1,000 teachers took part over an 18-day period between the 4th of May and the 22nd of May. So that's just to give you a bit of a context behind the results. So first of all, we asked how often do you give homework? And really, it would seem that in the main, children get homework about 4 days a week in primary school. So obviously, as parents, that's probably not going to be a surprise to you. We asked about homework at the weekends. There's a very small amount of children that seem to get homework at the weekends, and there's a very small amount of parents, children and teachers who think that's a good thing. But in the main, again, homework at the weekend seems to be a real no-no, that it's not on, particularly at primary level. So then we asked about the amount of homework. Now, 61% of parents said that they were satisfied with the amount of homework. 32%, which is obviously less, but 32% of parents felt that children got too much homework. And, you know, that is quite a high percentage of parents to be feeding that back. So that would cause us some concern. Is help needed? 86% of parents said that their children needed help at least sometimes, if not all of the time. And 83% of children said that they needed help sometimes, if not all of the time. There isn't background to that, so that just is the statistic that it is, and needing help isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's if that kind of situation of not being able to do then leads on to stress and pressure. But there is obviously a very high percentage of children who do need help with their homework from home. So what sort of help? Now there's a number of figures there, but just to draw out of it, 67%, the highest number, say that the main help that they get is that somebody checks their homework when they've done it, and that seems to be now people could tick more than one box on this, so they don't add up to 100%. But we also found quite interesting that the fact that 39% of children said that the person who's helping them answers the question when they can't. And that would cause us some concern, because if we're looking at homework as a partnership between parents and schools, and if parents or other siblings or other people in the home are answering questions for children, doesn't mean that teachers are necessarily going to know that those children are struggling. So we think that would need a little bit more looking into those figures. So is it a stressful time in the home? So we didn't ask children does homework make them stressed, because we didn't feel that that was maybe a language that children understood. But we did ask parents, was homework time a stressful time? So 58% of parents in infant classes said that homework was stressful either some or all of the time. And I suppose this comes to the point, and presumably this isn't a surprise to people in the audience, because they're supporting their children with their homework, but this does come to the kind of piece of trying to make that home environment a positive learning environment, and how stressful does that get. So I think Shane said, you know, we all need a bit of stress in our lives, but how stressful does that get? And I think when we're talking about infant classes, it is something that we probably need to look more into, and we see that that also increases to 65% as children go up through the school, in terms of the fact that they're stressed either some or all of the time. When we looked at who homework is stressful for, and again this is reported by parents, not children, so parents said that when stress was involved, in 82% of the cases that was stress for the child, and in 74% of cases that was also stress for the parents, and in 30% actually it stressed the whole family, so it had an impact around the family. So maybe people are laughing because this all rings a bell with them, or maybe they're surprised it's so low, I don't know. But so that's where the stress is being distributed. As I said, we didn't ask children about were they stressed, so how we tried to frame it for children was, do they worry about completing their homework, because that seems to kind of, we felt, capture where they were in terms of stress. So 53% of children say they worry about completing homework either some of the time or all of the time. So again, this is something that we feel needs more exploring, as to children are going home with homework and they're worrying about whether they can do it or not. How easy or hard do they find homework to do? 15% of junior and senior infants find it hard or too hard, and that increases to 34% in 5th and 6th class. So again, these are all kind of breakdowns, I suppose, of the concerns around homework and why it can get stressful at home. Do you enjoy doing homework? So 26% of junior and senior infants said no. So there's a high percentage of junior and senior infants that seem to enjoy homework. But that rises to 49%. Nearly half of 5th and 6th class don't enjoy doing homework. So obviously there's something happening between starting homework, engaging in that home learning, and where they go throughout the school. And, you know, I think those kind of figures are important when we're talking about mental health and well-being, and how it's important to foster happiness and positivity in children, and yet they're coming home from a day's school and they're going into something that is stressful and unenjoyable. It's important also, though, to see that, you know, all of that being said, that in terms of it being beneficial for children, a lot of people see it as beneficial to children. This home learning, whatever it is beneficial. 80% of teachers say that they think it's beneficial. 73% of parents said, and 62% of children felt that it helps them with their work. So, you know, I think that really does give us a sense of, well, let's not throw this away. There's a lot of people who are thinking that it helps with learning, but how can we change it, and how can we look at it that'll make it more positive for children? And I suppose what we're trying to do with the conference today, and certainly Shane this morning has looked into how to kind of manage those stresses and anxieties for children, but in the afternoon what we're trying to do is say, well, how do you create that positivity at home? How do you prepare children to learn? How are they in the best position to learn? And we'll look into that more with the home learning environment with Oisin, but also around how to make sure that children have the right nutrition, which I know as well Shane answered, in terms of getting them in the right place to learn. So we'll be giving out more information as we correlate some of the of the data as time goes on, but that's just a little flavour to give you some sort of indication of it.